With Bravely Default 2 getting a PC port via Steam, the Bravely series has finally expanded beyond the Nintendo line of consoles, and now people who have been interested in trying the series out for a while now have a chance if they've never had a 3DS or Switch beforehand. Of course, there's also the chance that Bravely veterans that haven't played 2 yet are going to get into it now as well, and there are a few simple pieces of advice I would offer to new players. So here are my top 7 tips and tricks you should know before diving into Bravely Default 2. But right quick, before we get into them, please take a moment to like and subscribe, or else Bravely Third will never be a thing. And one last thing, a quick thank you to everyone who offered tips in my Discord thread. Alright, let's get to it. The first bit of advice I can offer is this: use Forage. Right at the start of the game, you'll have the Freelancer job, which has the Forage ability. This can be used during combat to collect items for free, ranging from potions and mini-ethers to status healing items and damage consumables. Sometimes you might even pick up experience and job point orbs, which you can use on your characters to give them that little boost and save on grinding. When you unlock the ability to fight, you can dedicate 1 or 2 party members to foraging 4 times a turn, while the rest of the party just takes care of the enemies. This will give you a massive boost to the early game, saving you lots of money on consumables that can be later used for equipment and such. Coming off of foraging, tip number 2 is to keep cutting grass. Another tip in the vein of obtaining free items, now that Bravely has shifted to a more robust open world compared to previous entries, one thing you can do is cut grass. Just like in that one other series with the boy in green, cutting grass will sometimes yield random rewards. However, the reason I bring this up is because you shouldn't stop cutting grass just outside of the prologue or early game. Grass cutting actually scales with your level, so the items will continue to keep up with you over the course of the game. And to complete the item gaining trinity, tip number 3 is to use the boating system. In the game's prologue, you will gain access to the exploration system. This system was made to be used when you're not playing. All you have to do is send Seth sailing on the ocean and put your Switch into sleep mode. When you return, Seth will bring back a haul of experience and JP orbs, as well as stat buns, which can be used to permanently increase the stats of a character. Number 4, search for secrets. As is typically the case with JRPGs, Bravely Default 2 has plenty of goodies scattered across the realm. There's always lots of great items stored away inside of chests, with some of them being inside hidden passageways, all that typical stuff you already know most likely. However, there's also a number of interesting little lore books you can find that help flesh out the world of Excellent, so don't forget to give those a read. Tip 5. Do your side quests. If there's any tip I would emphasize over all others when playing BD2 for the first time, it's this one. I've seen a number of people who didn't enjoy this game as much as the others, only for them to say that they haven't done the side quests. If fetch quests aren't your thing, don't worry, nobody likes them either. But at the very least, you need to do all the quests that have cutscenes. These side quests will contain entertaining side stories about other characters you've met in the game, including some bosses. They'll show character growth for the party, or just have fun short stories. And of course, there's some great rewards and fights to be had from doing them. So if you skip your side quests, you're seriously missing out. Number 6, try out different jobs. This one's kind of obvious coming into a Bravely Default game, but for brand new players to the series, there are plenty of different classes for you to play with and to combine with each other to create so many different team builds. Don't worry so much about min-maxing or whatever, just have fun and make some wacky combos that you enjoy. And every job is pretty good in its own way, so there's always something useful to obtain from each job. Even if you don't use a certain job in combat, there's bound to be passive abilities you can unlock from it to make use of. So have fun and experiment with your options. And finally, tip number 7 is to use your monster treats. Grinding can always become exhausting, even for seasoned JRPG fans, and if you want to try out all kinds of different jobs as I suggested in tip 6, you're gonna have to swap around and start from level 1 a few times per character. That's where monster treats, and consecutive battles in general, come in. If you engage an enemy in the overworld while they are standing close to another monster, the attack will chain and launch you into a consecutive battle, where after clearing the first wave of monsters, you'll be thrown immediately into the next fight. These types of fights will give you a multiplier for your rewards once combat ends, making level and job grinding a breeze. Monster treats make this process even easier, as you'll only need to strike a single love-struck foe to end up in a chain of battle. And as a bonus tip, if you don't like the outcome of events, then keep fighting and change your fate. You'll know what it means when the time comes. And that wraps up my top tips and advice for starting Bravely Default 2. I hope these help you out, and I hope you enjoy the game. For the new players, do you have any other questions? Please leave your comments down below. And for those who have already played through the game, what advice would you offer? Oh, and one last note before we close this video off, if I catch any of you spamming Godspeed Strike to get through the entire game, I will personally remove your kneecaps and have you VAC banned from Bravely Default 2. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.